Everyone seemed to enjoy my video on 5 unique commanders you should be playing. Now it's time for part 2. This time I might actually upload the full deck list on Moxfield, but I'm a lazy degenerate, so probably not. So join me today on the tour of these 4 unloved and unappreciated commanders that don't live in the top 250 on EDH Rec. Before we get started, please subscribe so you don't miss my latest content. Also, let me know which unloved commanders you run in the comments below. Hold on to your socks and let's go. I love a good Legends deck, but I don't love Jodo the Unifier. I thought of my options. Should I build Dejero and Hazoret and go full-on Boros Legends? Should I go Dihada and go the full-on Mardu route? These seemed a little too popular for my taste. I had to look to the universes beyond to go beyond the mundane. I found the pairing of the 6th Doctor and Clara Oswald. Clara Oswald can be played as any color. For this deck, I chose black. Sultai Legends would be the theme. However, what strategy would this deck employ? Legends, obviously, because I just mentioned it. Okay. I'm done being a dick, hopefully, so let's get into the real game plan of this build. I want to make as many legendary tokens as I possibly can. Legends on legends, baby. The 6th Doctor is going to give me a copy of the first historic spell I cast. That means my artifacts, sagas, and legendary permanents are all getting doubled. Furthermore, Clara gives me a doubling effect on top of that. If I have both my commanders in play and I cast 1 legendary creature, I'm going to end up with 3 in total. Think of the possibilities. But I'm super greedy. I'm so greedy I would make a raccoon feel uncomfortable. Let me show you what I mean. I want more than 3. I demand more than 3. I deserve more than 3 total legendary permanents off of 1 cast. I know you deserve more too. I'm talking about token doublers. I'm including Adrix and Nev twin casters and parallel lives. This will give me an insane amount of legends. I'm beginning to doubt my math skills since, you know, the West Virginia School District isn't known for making mathematicians. Alas, I'm still going to try. If I have one of these 2 permanents on the battlefield, I'm going to get a total of 5 legends off of 1 cast. If both of them are out, I'm going to get so much value that Richard Garfield will slap me. I mean, he will literally slap me, but I think it's worth the risk. That's because the legends I'm casting are absolute garbage. Out of the total 37 legendary creatures, I'm going to touch a few of the standouts. The biggest is Essex Fractal Bloom. She will allow us to make different tokens of better creatures if we like. I do run a Sultai Lands package in here as well, AC Tyrant of Gyre Strait, Tatiova Benthic Druid, and the Gitrog monster give me some great land playing ability and card draw. I know that's a tad boring. It's time to show off the 5 legends that go bananas in multiples. First up is Amoti Celebrant of Bounty. When we have a few copies of this snaky boy out, we're going to cascade into game-ending value. Damia Sage of Stone is going to trigger when we have a limited number of cards during our upkeep and give us an ungodly grip. Min, Wily Illusionist, is going to flood the board in illusions and allow us to put a ton of permanents into play. Saison, Perverter of Truth, is going to put the game into turbo mode. If we have 2 copies and an original out, everyone is drawing 6 and losing 6 during their upkeep. Finally, Talion, the Unkindly Lord, is going to give us so much drain and draw, our opponents will be afraid to cast any spell. If you can think of any legends I should add to this deck, let me know in the comments below. Mono White, the laughingstock of any commander game. You are so good at removal and flooding the board with creatures, but your card advantage game is terrible. I had to find a way to mitigate this annoyance. I figured having some type of card selection in the command zone would be appropriate. That's when Gandalf, White Rider, became too irresistible not to build. The battle with the Balrog only made him better. Gandalf, White Rider, gives a pump effect every time we cast a spell. If we can double spell during combat, it would be a miracle in a white deck. Seriously, it will make our creatures unpredictable to block. That's not what drew me to him, however. That's Scry, baby. That sweet, sweet Scry. That ability to allow us to filter to the best cards in our deck for our situation. If I need a land, I get rid of spells, and vice versa. However, what spells will I be searching for? The best in mono white, of course. I'm sorry, it's not original or super creative. It's kind of boring, but gosh darn it, I wanted a functioning white deck. It's sad that the only way to make a competitive white deck in the 2020s is to run the best cards. If you want something original and off the wall, you've got to stay tuned for the upcoming entries. I know you're going to love them. Okay, back to the narrative. Let me show some of the white cards that I believe are a must-have in any mono white deck. In terms of removal, we run some of the greatest hits. Swords to Plowshares, Path to Exile, and Generous Gift are at the top of that list. Of course, we are packed with board wipes too. Sunfall and Farewell are 2 of the best. We also run counter magic. You may be saying to yourself, counter spells in mono white, that's just not possible. Yet, I was able to squeeze in Lapse of Certainty and Reprieve. Your opponents will not see it coming. We do need to focus on card advantage in mono white for sure. This is probably the hardest aspect of the deck because I didn't just want to run the staples like Esper Sentinel. And oh boy, I've got some weird ones. First up is Inheritance. This card from Alliances is bizarre. Whenever a creature is put into a graveyard from play, you can pay 3 mana and draw a card. Tenuous Truce lets you pick another player and both of y'all get to draw an extra card. Firemane Commando lets us draw cards when we attack and encourages our opponents to attack other players to get cards. Finally, Master of Ceremonies gives our opponents choices. Either we get treasures, citizens, or cards, and that is pure value for us. Last but not least, I have 5 cards that I believe should go into any mono white deck. If you don't believe me, tell me in the comments. First is Skyhunter Strike Force. This Cat Knight gives all of our creatures melee, and that will push through some major damage. Duelist Heritage lets us play a fun game of which creature gets double strike during combat. Valor will give our entire board first strike as long as it's in our graveyard. Reconnaissance gives our creatures pseudo-vigilance and can save them from risky blocks. Finally, we have to have a sack outlet in every deck. They are just too useful. I chose Fanatical Devotion. It gives the upside of protecting our board from removal. Then to wrap it up, I packed this deck with some of my favorite and sometimes overcosted beatdown threats. In order from worst to best, we are starting with Rhea Dawnbringer. For 9 mana, we get a recursion piece that can still get some beats in. Next up is the original Akroma. These used to be the ultimate top end in 2003. Nowadays, she gets shown up by the next card, Satalpa Primal Dawn. Guess what? This card is still a joke, but don't underestimate those keywords. Now we've got some real gas. Elish Norn Grand Cenobite. This card wins games. She turns all of our small creatures into game winners. Finally, we have the new and improved Akroma. Akroma, Vision of Ixidor. She has a ton of keywords and gives our army a huge boost based on the number of keywords they have. I hope this shows that you can make a unique and fun deck in a color that gets a lot of disparagement. Urtai and I go way back. My second commander was Urtai when I got back into Magic in 2019 and first rediscovered EDH. The first version is an Esper control deck that focuses on removal and counter magic. However, over time, it morphed into a Wizard Kindred deck. Actually, Urtai is my favorite commander of all time. Over time, the deck morphed to its current version, Enchantress. You may be thinking, there is no green. How can you build an Enchantress deck without the staples? Not very well, but the release of Duskmourn gave us some much needed power upgrades. That set is the best thing that's ever happened to Urtai in the past 20-something years. Way better than his modern reimagining, I shall call it. Ugh. Like I was saying, this is still a weak deck. Like hard to make function. That's why I have a variety of backup commanders to help him punch above his weight. I've got Zur the Enchanter to start. This guy is going to let me grab the best 3 CMC enchantment whenever he attacks and put it right into play. I can grab a few stacks pieces that I'll mention, but I'm always going to be grabbing Phyrexian Arena. Alayla Artful Provocateur is another backup I've wedged in here. Her ability to give us a flying army makes the US military jealous of our air superiority. The new Aminatu gives us some card selection to ensure we are drawing what we need to make an impact on the game. That miracle ability is also pretty spicy. Finally, the Master of Keys gives us a way to recast enchantments we sacrificed to Urtai. Now, let's get into some of those enchantment synergies. I'm talking about Constellation, my Ursa Majors. Not the stars, but the Theros block ability that cares about enchantments entering the battlefield. My personal favorite is Agent of Erebos, because it's going to make sure any graveyard deck isn't going to have a leg to stand on. Underworld Coinsmith is going to give us some life gain and allow us to drain our opponents in the late game. Grim Guardian also provides a way to lower life totals as well. I'm even including the Eerie mechanic since it functions in a similar way. The standout is Fear of Sleep Paralysis. Our opponent's creatures will become absolutely worthless. I think you can see the annoyance level is starting to rise. Now let's get into the hateful enchantments that make this Urtai deck a blast to play against. Starting on the tame side, we have Oubliette. This piece of removal is slept on. It phases out a creature and everything attached to it. This makes it so the permanent doesn't exist. Well. That's not mean enough for you? I hear you. Let's get into the pure spice. Eidolon of Rhetoric shuts down any deck that wants to win through Storm or multi-spelling. I think this card needs more play in fair decks that want to play one large threat per turn, but that's a conversation for another day. Oppression is going to make everyone, including us, discard a card to cast a spell. It makes everyone second guess each game action they take. Our final piece of fun is Painful Quandary. Each of our opponents will lose a ton of life or their hand when it's on the battlefield. I hope this shows you that you can build a traditional archetype in non-traditional colors. I love Onslaught Block. It has to be my favorite of all time. I think it has a lot to do with Scourge being the most recent set when I began my dive in the Magic the Gathering. I had to make a deck around my favorite block. Which commander would I choose though? I found no multicolor options I wanted to play from the block. Had to switch gears. What if, I mused, played a bunch of Onslaught cards with a more modern commander? Now I was on to something. Gruul Smash, but with garbage creatures. That was the ticket. However, what creatures would I focus on? Wizards? Dragons? Zombies? Then I was like, a beast deck would be sick. Not that sick, mainly just garbage, but I had my kindred type selected. One of the main mechanics for Beast in this block was Provoke. Provoke just makes me choose an opponent's creature and forces it to block. Then I realized with Neith of the Dire Hunt, that would turn in the card advantage. Neith is an interesting commander option. You can make a highly tuned version, I'm sure. Our quest today, however, is not that, but an arrogant attempt at making a semi-playable deck. I'm going to just focus on the blocking part, not the cool fight spell part. I mentioned the Provoke mechanic earlier. I wanted to dive into how it works. Let's start with an all-star of this deck, Feral Throwback. You might be muttering to yourself, what kind of insanity is this? It's definitely insane. Provoke is going to make a creature the defending player controls block the attacking creature. Not only that, it can untap a creature as well and make sure there is nothing safe on the board. Sadly, they have only printed 4 Provoke creatures in the Gruul color identity. The remaining 3 are as follows: Brontotherium, Crested Craghorn, and Crozen Voreen. I bet you've never heard of these before, yet the Onslaught flavor burst continues. I'm talking the most tolerated flavor of all time, vanilla. We are basically an ice cream shop in that regard. I've got the biggest vanilla creatures from the early 2000s packed in here. Have you seen a 10 mana 13/13 with an upkeep cost and play at your LGS? No? Then be prepared for Crozen Cloudscraper. I also run Crozen Colossus, a 9/9 for 9. My 7/7 vanilla for 7 is Enormous Baloth. Look at all that room for flavor text. Our final broken card in this vein is Towering Baloth, a 7/6 for 8 mana. But wait, we do have cards that quote-unquote do things. One of our best beasts in the deck is Crozen Warchief. The necklace may be deceiving, but this card puts in work. It reduces the cost of our beast and protects them through regeneration. Right up there as well is Ravenous Baloth. This dude gives us a free sack outlet for our Beastie Boys. Then we've got cards like Crozen Groundshaker and Shaleskin Bruiser to help make our army a lethal threat. Now you may be asking, what in the heck is this deck and can it win? It is a flavor build, and yes, it has actually won a single game against normal decks. Let me show you the support we are running to power this up. This deck is surprisingly good at drawing cards. Wirewood Savage, Garruk's Pack Leader, and Garruk's Uprising are all going to give us a card when we play our overcosted beast. We also have a sub-theme of turning our beast into direct damage. Aether Charge turns our beast into a burn spell against our opponents. Warstorm Surge and Sarkhan's Unsealing can direct damage to any target. Furthermore, Sarkhan's Unsealing can turn our big creatures into a one-sided board wipe. The final piece of tech I'm going to mention is Minx Gimbu, Timeless Heroes. It allows us to fling our beast in spite. What joy. I hope this shows that an underpowered, flavorful deck can still make a presence at a Commander game. As you can see, you can still make an interesting and playable deck without net decking. Hope I gave you some inspiration to build a unique Commander deck. There are so many choices out there that deserve some love. If you want to see more, check out the links on the screen. Anyways, thanks for watching. Please like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll see you on the next one.